So now you see I'm looking horizontally along the arch. Okay, so let's see how things are going at this point. When we're cutting, we won't use the mirror, but when we're evaluating what we've done, we'll use the mirror. So looking along the arch this way, I can see the position. Looks like everything's shifted lingually. Okay, so I think your central groove was about right here, but your isthmus is shifted lingually compared to the central groove. And notice that you're leaning the burr buccally. Instead of leaning it lingually, you're leaning it buccally. Okay? Here you leaned it lingually a little bit. Here you're more vertical. So you got a lot of different angles going on there. So we're going to use the same angulation all the time, everywhere. Okay, but I would have looked along here. Gone into each of those grooves. Don't make too big a extension into the distal groove. Here's the distal buckle. Here's the buckle. Preserve the triangular ridge in between, but preserve the triangular ridge from the distal groove to the lingual groove, and keep the burr leaning lingually all the time. Keep all the walls the same height as the burr. Then we're probably okay. All right, but you see how you can see everything, and you're sitting in my position and looking this way? Now, for the occlusal part, we're going to, be careful of that, we're going to, so now I can see parallel to the contact and downward at a 45-degree angle. Don't try to look down this way, because you're trying to look vertically, and as you know, for a class 2, if you look vertically down the axis, you're dead. Okay? You'll never be able to see what you need to. Okay, but let's look in the mirror to see how you've done so far. So you need to get a little more clearance facially. Got a little damage on the adjacent tooth, huh? Yeah. Your clearance lingually is okay. You got a hook there. Is this a composite prep?
Yes.
Okay, so the lingual side, the exit angle looks a little bit obtuse, so that's good. So, you know, we'll look this way so we know how close you are to the adjacent tooth, and then we can cut straight in, just like you did. And then join the isthmus. Get, again, the margin, the length, the angle, the length, and then join the isthmus with a nice smooth curve. Let's clean that up a little bit more. Now, put an extra finger behind the handpiece sometimes here. That'll help keep it from slipping around the corner and going and damaging the margin. Otherwise, you always cut from the outside in. You got a pretty good corner. Get rid of the excess. The 55 burr will do a nice job of all of that. Match the general part to the occlusal part. Turn this way to see how it's coming along. Okay, so it's a little bit obtuse, fairly flat, well-defined corner. But the axial should have been going this way, right?
Yes.
Now facially, let's get a little more clearance and cut a little flatter wall. But again, I'm looking this direction. We can go out a little bit farther facially. Now let's look in the mirror to see if we've gone far enough. Okay, that might work. Then from that area, we're going to cut straight in. Notice to see how I'm doing, I'm going to just lean this way and put the mirror in there. Now I can see the clearance, I can see the nice straight angle, and I'm getting the length. Then we're going to make the curve to join the isthmus. But your isthmus got a little bit wide here anyway, but we'll just make as smooth a connection as we can. Okay, but the corner of the box should have been about right here, especially for a composite prep.
Okay.
We don't want the gingival floor width to be very much. So we'll usually keep it about on a molar, you know, maybe 1.2 or so. Oops, you've got a 330 burr where the 55 should be. You got another 55 around? Probably in here. There we go. So most of the time we're going to try to use a new burr for every prep.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm looking so I can see how deep I am axially. I can see how close I am to the adjacent tooth. Let's make the corner about right here. Let's see how I'm doing. There's the corner. Then we're going to get rid of the excess along that wall. Again, don't try to see the wall. You need to see how deep you are axially. You need to see how close you are to the adjacent tooth. But you've already done the top half of the wall, so to make the bottom half match the occlusal half is not that challenging. Okay, so we can smooth away a little bit more on the gingival part of that wall. Again, I'm looking parallel to contact, downward at a 45-degree angle as always. Okay, now if I get a nice smooth floor all the way to the margin, then we can go ahead and bevel that gingival margin. But again, notice that extension axially is what got you in the most trouble. Okay, you have a little hook here. Use a hand instrument to trim that off. So we use a hand instrument on the margins of the composite, but not on the internal angles, because we just make them rounded like the burr. But we do need to angle the gingival floor and then place the gingival bevel. You got a little bit too much clearance already.
Yeah.
So angle it a little bit, then make that bevel. You'll be a little bit overextended, but we can live with it for now. But again, look this way when you're working in the box. Lean over and look this way to see how you're doing every step of the way. Trial and error as we go along. Okay?